Thank you, Kenny, for inviting everyone. Kenny's left. Thank you, everyone's coming, and it's great pleasure to invite everyone's here, and it's really late in Shanghai, and but I think everyone's in different time zone, so maybe we can start right now. And this panel is more focused on Polkadot after we've been talking about all of the DeFi and all of the like privacy from investment side, and then let's just dive into the Polkadot. So maybe the first question will be like, everyone, please just introduce yourself and what you guys doing in the Polkadot space, and also please just tell one of your like on-chain privacy like honor story. Like that would be something really interesting from the previous panel. Yeah, maybe we can start from Alistair and Denko and Marvin, Sota.
Hi. I'm Alistair. I'm lead scientist at the Web3 Foundation. I sort of played a part in designing some of the core protocols for Polkadot. As for privacy horror stories, well, there is no privacy, so you can find out pretty much what everyone did. I mean, I still don't know who Robot Heart and Prince Kusama are, but I can tell you when they bought their KSM on which exchange.
Wow, that's pretty hard. Maybe Denko?
Sure. Hey guys. So I'm Denko. I'm CEO of Reef. Reef is building Reef chain right now. And regarding the question that you had on the privacy side, I mean, I didn't have any horror stories in particular, but I know some people that had. So the issue is that users assume that because they're behind addresses, they can do whatever they want. But you know, at certain endpoints, you kind of reveal your identity. For example, if you participate with the same address in all of these dApps, and then someone knows you, and then you get tagged. And, so the horror stories were basically, random people knowing the balance of other people, and that was like the biggest issue, right? It's as if someone knows how much money you have in your bank account, and it's not so much about the balance; it's more about the actions that were executed. And especially the fact that people, some things that they might want to buy on the internet, they might don't want to buy with a debit card, and then someone somehow figured that some guy was buying some stuff that, for example, he was not supposed to buy or whatever. So it was not like illegal or anything. It was just optics wise, it was not good for the person. So I guess that was a pretty big horror story for him. So when it comes on, when we start talking about privacy, I think it's a big value add on certain endpoints. But again, it's like, I think the use cases need to be evaluated like per case, right? Because it's very easy, to abuse the fact that something is private, right? And use it then for negative and illegal stuff. So yeah, that's my horror story. I think Victor's screen is, is frozen.
Sorry.
Yeah.
My turn?
Why not?
Oh, all right, cool. Hello, everyone. My name is Sota Watanabe. I'm founder of Asta Network and Shiden Network. Asta Network is a Polkadot dApp hub supporting Ethereum virtual machine, WebAssembly, and the layer 2 solution, especially ZK rollup, zero knowledge proof. So maybe I'm going to talk about a little bit about ZK rollup later. And my horror story is, I don't have a much, but we have registered on-chain identity. So all teams, token are visible and verifiable from the community. So everybody knows our team pay for what and to who. So yeah, probably my address was disclosed, and anyone can see my address. And I'm paying for. So this can be this will be my Phala story in the future. Yep.
Yes, thank you for sharing. Marvin, I think you must have a lot of things to share.
Now Marvin is frozen.
Hello?
Frozen.
Yeah, he's frozen.
Maybe Firewall.
Okay, I thought I don't.
Yeah, Firewall is Phala story.
Okay,
You're back.
yeah, I mean, there's a lot of trouble from the crowdcast.
Marvin,
Yeah,
your turn.
hello?
Okay, so is it is now okay?
Yeah,
Can you hear me?
we can hear you, but we can't saw you right now. Maybe you turn off the camera. It seems you turn
Yeah,
off the
I did
camera
that,
already.
to be more influential. So
Yeah,
let me try again.
Oh, you can do that right now.
yeah, I
It's
can
Okay,
saw you
cool.
right now. I can saw you right now.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. So so hi everyone. Thank you for joining the meeting today. And in last two panels, we saw very excited discussions. My name is Marvin Tong. I'm the founder of Phala Network, and I'm also the CEO of Hash Forest, which is the Singapore-based company who developed the core part of Phala Network. And as our council already been elected by the public, so I'm now is also a council member for Phala Network, which is a Kusama version of Phala. And so in one sentence, Phala Network is a privacy-preserving cloud computation service target to Web3. And our version is that we want to replace the current centralized cloud platform little by little. And but specific features of Phala Network is that we support the data privacy while remaining trustless. And unlike centralized cloud service, we don't own any server or data centers. Anyone can provide their permissionless servers into Phala, and because of the combination of blockchain and trusted execution environment, we can make sure that the servers can't be evil even when they're out. They're in an edge network environment. So, so to speak, we are kind of like privacy, but more privacy service and technology, but more focus on off-chain to provide Web3 version of cloud platform to replace the centralized cloud. So many people think Phala, and Manta network is the same, exactly the same target, but actually it's not. We are more, put our attention in computation and in cloud service. But we think in the future Web3 cloud is quite important because now most of the front end and back end of decentralized applications are still running on AWS and GCP. So that's most of the proof of staking nodes. So so that's something about me. Thank you, Victor.
Yeah, cool. Thank you for sharing. It's really amazing, like to hear everything about this. And so the next question actually is about Polkadot. For the ecosystem project, like or the others, like why you decide to build on Polkadot, and for Polkadot, like for Alistair, definitely you are building Polkadot, and maybe you can summarize, and to give our community have a more like general or more deep dive into what Polkadot it is, and especially like why it's different with the like other ecosystem.
Well, you've all seen the spiel a few times, I think. Polkadot is a system of parallel state machines with shared decentralized security. And this already says why it's different from everyone else. So one thing is we have multiple state machines. We now have lots of parachains on Kusama. and each of them is different. And this is so we can be different on a sort of state machine, in this case on a parachain level, whereas in Ethereum you would have to be, there's different smart contracts, but it's all running under the same system. As opposed to sort of other systems of the many chains out there, we have shared security. We all sort of have a common system. We can all sort of hopefully talk to each other with a, the chains can interoperate with a easier trust model than if they were secured separately. Abstractly, that's what Polkadot is.
So maybe Sota?
You're
I think
muted.
you're
You're
muted,
muted.
Sota.
Sorry for that. Yeah, Alistair talked about like a technical side, so I would like to talk about like a visionary side. So Polkadot is the foundation of the Web 3.0. So a lot of the data and a lot of mainly data controlled by the centralized authority, and mainly GAFA, the Google, Amazon, Apple, and Facebook. And now it is 21st century, and blockchain was invented. So blockchain is based on the peer-to-peer network, and now we have a technology to make peer-to-peer autonomous organization for the next generation. So yeah, I think Polkadot is going to connect blockchain. So internet is connected right now, but blockchain is independent. Like Bitcoin is independent, Ethereum is independent. So I believe that Polkadot connect blockchain just like internet of today. Yeah, this is my Polkadot.
Thanks, Sota. Yeah, so I have multiple analogies that I used to explain to friends and family and newcomers to the space. So the first one was how I would explain Polkadot is in every industry when there is something new. Let's say you have the blockchain coming. Let's say Bitcoin was the first one, and then you have this the progression curve is very aggressive because people come up with different ideas. They can improve on it. It's like you have iPhone 3, for example, right? And then we can see that the iPhone 4 is way better than iPhone 3, and then we have iPhone 5. So these steps are pretty big. So what happened with Polkadot? And again on the analogy. So what happens over time? Any industry, even if it's the iPhone industry or the even if it's like a 4K television or 8K whatever, it flattens out. So all the innovation, it's so hard to add something else on top. So basically, Polkadot is the most advanced technology that was built by the people that were basically building the whole journey. So the people that were contributing Ethereum, they were like, okay, this is great, but we can do something better. So Polkadot is basically like Internet of blockchains, just like how you have this HTTP protocol where we access all the websites through this protocol. So Polkadot is basically the network through which one would be able to access all the blockchains. So obviously it's not just the vision, but it's also about people that can deliver on this, and they've delivered on other things as well. So that's why we decided to to focus towards Polkadot and towards Substrate. So basically, Substrate is the framework with which the parachains are built, and the Polkadot network itself is also built with Substrate, right? So basically, it's the most advanced blockchain technology that currently exists. That's it.
Great. How about Marvin?
Yeah. Let me think. I think both Sota and Denko and Alistair already described very well. So I will use something different, like I don't know if you guys saw the Lord of Rings. Of course you did. So in my understanding, I treat many blockchains like the rings. So some rings are built to elves or elves or human beings, right? Knife for the human kings, but each of the ring have its own feature, like it's extremely fast, higher TPS, or EVM capable. I think it's the layer one is very similar with this feature built rings, but there's still need some connection or some the layer zero, so to speak, to make connection and controlled by a trustless way to control this blockchain. So I think Polkadot relation is very like the Lord of the Rings to control the dwarves rings, elves rings, and human being race. So that's my opinion about what Polkadot is. It's a layer zero. It's the Lord of Rings.
Great. Yeah, really interesting. So this is the first time I heard. So cool about the Polkadot. So basically the first thing we think about is the interoperable, and the interoperability is the basically the word that everyone throw to the Polkadot, and especially like the last panel. Also, there's a lot of speakers talking about this, and maybe you guys also talk about a kind of the example, the Polkadot about the Polkadot interoperability. So and maybe it's coming have some connection with Manta or Calamari.
Yeah, I can start. Sorry, I start. Yeah, I think Manta and Calamari has a very important role in the Polkadot and the Kusama ecosystem, because privacy matters, and privacy is generally speaking expensive to implement. The reason why privacy is not well implemented in the blockchain ecosystem is making privacy on chain is expensive. So we would like to work with Manta. Actually, we have been working with Manta and Calamari. And once Calamari became a Phala chain, I would like to, send our Shiden token or Astar token to Calamari and make a privacy DeFi use case on Calamari, or vice versa. Or we can import the Calamari's token to Shiden, or it may be possible to make a high-speed the privacy enhanced transaction on our platform. But this is just an idea. So we are really looking forward to making privacy use case on the top of Kusama and Polkadot in coming months. Yeah, sorry, I start for.
Cool.
You're muted.
Yeah, at least you're muted.
Yes, this is the kind of thing we need. So Polkadot sort of should eventually make it easy for parachains to talk to each other. We've already got that, but specifically in the Manta or addressing privacy, it's not enough to be private on Manta or Phala and have the rest of the DeFi world entirely open. If I sort of create a pseudonym on one of these things, then you can't link how I got these tokens in, but I'm still going to be leaking metadata everywhere. So, I mean, what we really want is privacy everywhere. You to be able to use privacy everywhere. And for the interoperability, it's really important then that we basically have a way of privately communicating, private cross-chain things, like say a cross-chain shielded pool, where you wouldn't know what chain something was coming from, or that kind of thing. That's what I'd like to see.
Cool.
Yeah. So regarding interoperability, basically the interoperability issue is not just present in the blockchain landscape; it's present pretty much everywhere. hence why people have decided to build different protocols, different object annotations, and then we have different improvements over time. But some of those things, like they're not useful to do. Like for example, JSON, it's one way where you can interoperate between different systems, right? It's a protocol pretty much. Like, but the problem with this is that you get the network effect. The network effect is super important because it's now we speak English, and now if I invent a new language, not many people know how to speak this language, and then I cannot interoperate with these people. So basically, in order for a certain protocol to have interoperability value, you need multiple actors. So obviously Polkadot's biggest value add is that you have this layer built into the network. So it's not just a shared security where you have the the main validators, so all the parachains, they don't have to worry about this part, but they're also building the protocol for the basically like a way between the parachains to communicate between each other, and then you can exchange state, etc. And obviously, Reef's vision is to become a parachain one day, and I believe that this the interoperability protocol that Polkadot is building is so far the at least the vision, because it's still not there yet, but it seems to be the best implementation of an interoperable protocol between blockchains. So yeah, and of course we have different blockchains now. We're utilizing this technology for different like use cases. So one blockchain is good for one thing, another blockchain is good for another thing, and a lot of people are generalizing like TPS. I mean, we've been talking about TPS 5 years ago, and it seems like TPS is still like the #1 metric that the retail investors are looking at, which it obviously showed how wrong it is, that you don't just look at the TPS, it's just one parameter, right? So yeah, that's why you have multiple parachains, because they have different use cases, and when the interoperability layer is set in place, basically you can deploy whatever you want. It's like you go on DigitalOcean now and you are like, okay, I need this hardware for this purpose with this OS. You just click a few buttons and then something gets pinned up. So I imagine Polkadot down the road will be something like that, like like AWS basically. So what you do, you go in a single UI, you're like, okay, I want DeFi, and then you click Reef or Phala. I want this and that, and then at the end, you just deploy your code base, because over time, multiple parachains will support multiple VMs, and you will still be able to communicate through the interoperability layer. So yeah, it's basically the crucial thing to have, and it seems to be the best implementation so far. So that's my opinion.
Yeah, I totally agree with Denko just mentioned that. Yeah, the reason that even after like 2 years in the ecosystem, we are still have the strong confidence.
You've gone quiet.
Yeah. So what's the question? You have another question? Yeah,
Marvin,
it froze.
I think we are losing you.
Yeah, froze again.
No, it seems Marvin haven't finished yet, but he's joining now, or
To carry on from what you said, Denko, yeah. So TPS is not really useful without scaling. Like we need these multiple chains because otherwise one machine can't handle it. So there's people that claim they can match Visa for their TPS, but that isn't useful unless you have really good light clients. No one can deal with that if you actually have that every day. And yeah, we're definitely
cool.
working on it.
Yeah, great. I think about the Polkadot, we can dive into more about the privacy. Like, how do you guys see the role of privacy in the Polkadot space, and especially right now, like everyone is talking about the multi-chain, and also lots of layer 2 on Ethereum, and also like Solana or other ecosystem. And do you think like what's the difference of the privacy is prioritized should be in Polkadot than any other ecosystem? Because I mean I actually we read the article like really early, article written by Gavin Wood since 2014 about like we are like post-Snowden time, after the after all of this issue happens. So basically his vision is about the privacy, and we are also like to hear what you guys thinking about the parachain and also from the Polkadot. So what's kind of the prioritize about the privacy? Yeah. Maybe we start from Marvin.
So,
If sorry, Marvin it seems not here. Let's go back to Alistair then.
right. So we're still trying to get sort of the tools that that we'll need to build a private thing on. Like we're doing some work to make sure that we have access to all the cryptographic primitives we need to do snarks and things. I think there's some progress needs to be made there on the back end. But once we have everything, in the end, we'd like to see privacy on almost everything in Polkadot, and optionally. But at least the little guy should always have the option of being private. And to get there, we need teams build private solutions, and then they need to work out how to get them to work together so we can be private all the way through. We need to think about things like network privacy and not just protocol level privacy. The problem with privacy is you leak something somewhere and suddenly everyone knows who you are. And I think it's still we're still pretty early, and there's a lot of stuff we need to build.
Yeah, so I agree completely. So basically, I think the privacy, it should be optional and it should be easily composable. So people that are building some very basic dApp, they should be let's assume they're developers. They should be able to easily add the privacy layer on their smart contract or So when this gets achieved, I think we're getting at a point. It's like if we give an analogy, you have the VPN right now, which is obviously not privacy, but it's kind of like, okay, it's some layer that improves something. So you're not fully visible, but it adds some value. Right? But the point is the usability of it. Like you go, it's one click, the UI, the UX from all the apps, it doesn't matter, nothing changes. It's in the networking layer, no one cares, it just works, right? So with blockchain, we just have to get to this point where it's optional, and then someone want to do it, done. And again, it has to be done in a way where you can either shift between. You can just decide to go to this to the privacy mode immediately, because you might leak some metadata. So it's like another user. How you have two usernames on your MacBook. This is how it should be. It's not as seamless as VPN, but is UX wise is as close as it gets. So once we get to this point, it's basically done. And I think all of those, all the current progress that's been done on this front seems promising, because it's not like Monero used to be, where it's its own infrastructure, so it's like sandboxed in its own things. It cannot communicate. This is private, and then that's it. Now people started thinking, how can we introduce this in blockchains that are not by default, private? So that's, I think, a good direction to go.
Cool. Yeah, I would like to talk about privacy on Polkadot from a different perspective. Privacy on Ethereum and privacy on Polkadot is the different story, because if privacy solution is built on Ethereum blockchain, anyone in the Ethereum ecosystem can use that one because privacy solution is on Ethereum blockchain. But in terms of the Polkadot has a lot of the parachain and relay chain. If privacy solution is built on a parachain, we have to import this solution to another parachain through cross-chain messaging passing. So I think cross-chain messaging passing is the one of the most important feature we should have. And there are 6 Kusama parachain at this moment, and the cross-chain messaging passing is the next big things. So actually, I have a question to Alistair regarding the cross-chain messaging passing. Could you teach me the status and what did you achieve, and what is the problem of the cross-chain messaging passing on Kusama?
So currently on Kusama, we can send messages to the relay chain. The relay chain can send messages to parachains, and parachains can talk to each other via the relay chain. You should be able to, if you can open an HRMP channel, and at the moment it's a little tricky, like Phala have their thing to make it easier to do this by governance rather than trying to code it in. Once you open a channel, then you'll be able to send messages. We recently have sort of XCM, and that's getting more full-featured. This will allow you to do things like send things with the currency of a third chain, or pay for fees in different currencies and on different chains, and work out, send change back maybe or maybe not. Lots of options for what you can do. In the future, we're going to move XCMP off chain, which is sort of what we planned from the beginning. Well, no. Okay, when I say off chain, it's like, I mean off the relay chain. So when you want to send a message, it shouldn't, so currently you would put something on you send the message to the relay chain, we put it on the relay chain and send it down, but this is no good because the relay chain then becomes the scalability bottleneck. So what you want to do is to store the minimal amount of data on the relay chain. Sort of, you only put hashes, and you don't even want to put the hash of every message, or even the hash of a message to every chain. You just want to put one hash, and so we have a solution designed whereby you can have very little data on the relay chain, and then you can send message sort of more directly from one chain to another.
Interesting. This is new for me, so yeah, thank you for the inputs.
Yeah, it's really great to know this. Yeah, cool. I think Marvin, maybe I'm not sure you follow the question. We just talked about the privacy in Polkadot ecosystem. I mean, Phala definitely also have a lot of things to share about this. What do you think the role of privacy in the Polkadot ecosystem? And there's a lot of other, ecosystem like, the Ethereum layer 2 and all of the like Solana merging into the crypto space. And what do you think, Polkadot will privatize the privacy, than other ecosystem?
Yeah. So can you hear me?
Yes.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah.
So first, I suggest all the guys who joined this panel could, if you got time, please read the blogs that Gavin present a couple of days before about the total design of XMP infrastructure, which is very clear and simply explain many things. And from our understanding, we think the most potential part of XMP is that not only for a size transfer, many general user or even some developers, when they choose the ecosystem, they'll pick up the they will think XMP is like another version of bridge, which is totally wrong. It's like it's a purely channel for message. And in this perspective, we are expecting like much more than just token transfer between parachains, such use cases, which of course this kind of use cases is excellent and be needed in the early stage during these 6 parachains or 10 after a couple of months. But we think the most we are expecting the most killer app would be come out from the XMP using different parachains and different smart contracts on these parachains. It means that maybe the smart contract A on Shiden network can use directly use the smart contract B on Phala network and use some pallet on Manta network. All of these transactions combined together, and it happened just in one block. And this kind of privacy preserving is something quite different from like Tornado Cash or other ZK knowledge base layer 2 presenting to Ethereum and BSC. We didn't see any good to go use experienced layer 2 privacy layer 2 to BSC yet. And we think for many users, especially for DeFi users, the privacy should not happen after or before they transfer or be a farmer on DeFi, harvest or something like this, but happened during these activities. For example, when I click my mouse and I want to lend some tokens, lend some assets from Compound, some of the profitable activities will be purchased immediately or be eaten immediately by MEV, robots, and all of these smart contract robots are eating many profit from the profitable positions on chain before the transaction happened. So the ability from XMP to combine with the ability of, for example, Phala or Manta or Shiden network can combine together, provide one single transaction, one single deal in one block, but using different chains features to protect the privacy from user activities. So that's what I'm expecting in the next coming months or even years. We can wait for that, but this would be like a killer app, to separate Polkadot ecosystem and Solana and BSC and Ethereum. This is something other ecosystem can never do. So that's my that's my version of it. Thank you, Victor.
We'd all love to see that vision, I think. But there's still a lot of technical challenges to go. So yeah, there's at least one interoperability thing, which not interoperability per se, but it's an important. So a lot of the difficulties with getting chains to talk to each other is the trust model. Does this chain have to trust this chain? Does the user, who's the user trusting? The user probably trusts everyone they're trying to interact with, but maybe not everyone they're not. And so, for instance, one of the things we do for tokens is if your chain wants to be sovereign over this token, then one way to do that will be to do, and you want to, but people on other chains want to use it. One way to do that will be to wrap the token to another chain. So this your chain would have accounts for each of these other chains, and sort of users on these chains would have sort of sub accounts of the main chain account, and that chain would keep track of those. But then in order to transfer something, I would have to, from one chain to another chain, I would have to talk to the chain that actually owns the asset, and have that move from this chain's account to this other chain's account. Now we can now do that with XEM. We have a reserve account model, but it's very difficult to make this private, right? Because you can see if this other chain has a thing for this account on this chain, this account for this chain, I can now see when assets are flowing from this chain to this other chain. There's sort of another option for asset transfer, which is you can teleport assets. You basically just burn them on one side and mint them on the other. But that means now that the asset basically is exposed to the risk of both these chains. It's no longer, we're no longer saying that it's owned by this one chain, right? The trust is maybe weakened. Now, we have a future idea for Polkadot. We have an idea called Spree, which will enable basically it's shared code across chains that can talk to each other. And then with Spree, you'll be able to, we'd have some code across all chains, which would, be able to manage who should be able to print this asset. And you could send it to another chain just by teleporting to this, this Spree module, and the shared code and shared security would ensure that this other chain can never print your tokens, no matter what happens to governance and other things. With something like this, we might be able to do cross-chain privacy a bit more easily. If we could do the sort of the Zcash type thing that Manta is doing inside a Spree module. If we could do that, then we could teleport things from one chain to another without them trusting. Otherwise, you'd have to think of you have to get if you want real cross-chain privacy, you have to get a bit more creative about what your trust model is for your assets. Like who do they trust? Which parachains do we trust? And maybe we have maybe we even have trust across ecosystem, across Polkadot and Kusama, or across even Polkadot and Ethereum, although that would be hard. And that needs a lot more thinking, because the wrap token model doesn't work.
I see. Thank you for sharing that. It's actually really interesting and really helpful. Cool. I think let's start. Maybe let's just stop from here, and that's basically all the questions. I'm running all of the questions here, and yeah, thank you everyone joining the panel.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks also, guys, for following. I see there were like a bunch of free questions, so I'll try to answer them in our community group.